Let's read it. Therefore, remember that one time you Gentiles in the flesh. Now, he's pinpointed who he's talking to. The Gentiles in the flesh, called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision, which is made in the flesh by the hands. Remember that you were at that time separated from Christ, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers to the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now,
that's such a beautiful. That's the accurate description of the situation. Sorry, keep going.
No, exactly. But now, in Christ Jesus, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility. Now, there has been so much written on what is the dividing wall. There's an article on TorahResource called "What is the Dividing Wall" in Ephesians 2:14.
Also, I think, Fellow Heirs, your dad's book,
he wrote a whole thing on
maybe a whole chapter and more with this passage in mind.
Exactly. So there's plenty of material out there to see what the dividing wall is. If you think the dividing wall is the Torah, I'm sorry, you're misinformed. So going on, verse 15, by abolishing
but they take it at that, and this is where this who is the person who gave us this message?
This is Jude. Mm-hmm.
This is where an interpretation of this is Jewish, this is the new category of thought is Jewish identity markers. The you call them Jim. Jewish identity markers. You got your Jim. Jim stands in the way. And don't touch Jim. Right? If you're a Gentile, stay away from Jim. Because those are special. And they're not for you. And they are to be preserved, and they distinguish.
He says this exact thing in verse 15. By abolishing the law of commandments. Now they're going to say, the mainstream Christian church is going to say, aha, see the law of commandments. He's talking about the Torah. But you have to see the Greek here. By abolishing the law and commandments expressed in ordinances. This word ordinances is dogma. Dogma is never used of the commandments of God. Dogma is always used of man-made tradition. And you can see this even in the apostolic, the New Testament text. Look up the word dogma. It is used, I think, 6 times throughout the apostolic scriptures. Now, the only time that you'd be able to say that it's talking about the law of God is if you say that Paul uses it for the law, because Paul uses it, I think, 3 times. The other times it's all, but clearly he's not talking about that. He can't be talking about that.
Here's where they sneak, and this ties in back to Mark's email.
It wasn't Mark.
If you have an English translation that says ordinances.
I don't know who Mark is, by the way. You
keep saying Mark. The prior email?
Oh, that was Seeking Truth.
Oh, Seeking Truth. I thought it was Mark. Okay, my bad. The one about separating the 10 Commandments from the ordinances of Moses. Right. If you have a translation that takes dogma as ordinances, and then you look and you see an English translation of a passage in the Torah where it says ordinances, hey.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing. They go in the same file folder.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're pointing out, we need to pause. We need to look at the original language, and then we need to say, what's the semantic range of this term dogma? And what we clearly see is that it doesn't mean, it's not talking about anything Moses did. So go ahead,
right.
Keep going.
So he says, by abolishing the law of commandments expressed in dogma, that he might create in himself one new man in place of the two. In other words, you have Jew and Gentile. You have Jew and Gentile. The Gentiles are on the out. They are not part of the commonwealth of Israel. And they are separated through this dividing wall, which is the ordinances created, man-made ordinances created to separate the two.
For a man-made identity.
Exactly.
It's a man-made identity that says, we have this is who we are, and you're not part of it. Yep. It's the same thing about you didn't wash your hands right.
Yep, exactly.
The Pharisees are fasting, but you're not.
And so then what is the one new man? By the way, there is a teaching on TorahResource called One New Man. What is the one new man? The one new man is Jew and Gentile together in the commonwealth of Israel through covenant inclusion by Christ, but through the blood of Christ. Verse 16, and might reconcile us both to God in one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility. And he came and preached peace to you who were far off and peace to those who were near. I mean, to say that this is somehow abolishing the need for Gentiles to keep the law is, I think, probably, I just don't understand how anybody can believe that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.